Hello everyone, welcome back to our Spring Boot series. Today I'm trying a new format showing at the same time the slides that I usually create and at the same time show you the concepts on the side. So let's see how it goes, and my hope is that I can maintain the level of detail that I can explain, at the same time reduce the time of the video at least for 50%. So let's see how it goes. So the subject today, it's about how to retrieve auto-generated keys using JdbcTemplate. It's quite common because most of the times we create tables with auto numbers. And of course, when we insert, we need the ID that was generated most of the time. Sometimes it's not useful. We are just, let's say, doing a batch and inserting rows, so it's not a problem. But once in a while, if we have foreign keys, we need this ID for later use it as a foreign key in a different table. So let's see how it goes. So the goal of this video is just to insert a new row in a SQL table using JdbcTemplate and automatically retrieve the generated primary key. And of course, we want as clean and production ready approach as possible. So why do you need the auto-generated key? As I was saying, usually you need the key that, because probably you maybe want to share this information with another system, or even you want to use as a foreign key in a different table, or maybe you need also this information for logging, for later something happened with this row. Maybe you want to check the logs and say, okay, this is the ID that was generated, but I'm not seeing on the database, or I'm not seeing this ID in a different system, in a different microservice where I was sending this information. So the Spring JDBC solution, usually we use JdbcTemplate to execute the SQL. Then we use this class GeneratedKeyHolder to hold the new key. And behind the scenes, as you know, JdbcTemplate uses PreparedStatement, and what we have is a PreparedStatement creator that we will be using to send the SQL. So this is a snippet of code that you can see also here that I already prepared in our code. It's quite similar. The only thing that it's different, it's data type, but that it's of course related with our table. But the main idea, we have this class keyholder, and we generate a keyholder. The holder, it will be the place where the key will be stored. Okay, and now we perform our JdbcTemplate like using this update. We pass the connection as usual. And then here what we have is the prepare statement. It will be on our side to the prepare statement. If you are seeing my previous video, you already know that JdbcTemplate usually handles for you the prepare statement, and the connection and the handling of result sets. But here we want a special thing that JdbcTemplate cannot generalize enough. So it will put on our side some of the management of the prepare statement. But behind the scenes is still, for instance, managing the connection. I mean, it will open a connection for us and then we'll close the connection. But we need to use the prepare statement like this. We put our query and we set the values, and then we return, of course, this execution. But we have this parameter here, which is our variable key holder here. And after this is executed, we can do something like this. We take the key holder, we get the key, and we use the data type as we need. Usually it returns a number because some of the tables will have integers, others will have longs and other types, data types in Java. That's why here in example, for instance, you can see that I'm using the int here ID because my user here use an integer here. So I need an int, not a long, not a number. And we have these methods after the get key. And if you click here, you have several of them that we can use. Int value, byte value, double, float, long, short. These ones are also here. All the ones that are usually numbers, because the auto generation is based on numbers. So we have this way to get to the generated value, and then it's a good practice after we create the user to set the ID of the user. So we return this completely. So on database, the ID it's there. On our side was not, but now it is, before returning from the method to save the user in a repository. Okay. So key concepts explained. JeneratedKeyHolder stores the key generated by DB, as we saw, which is this SIR here, JeneratedKeyHolder, this class. Then we have to use the prepare statement in the connection. So it tells the database to return the new ID. It is this parameter that is doing all the magic. It's a second parameter. By the way, this is not a JdbcTemplate thing. You can use this in regular JdbcTemplate because at the end of the day, the prepare statement is something from JDBC, not from JDBC template from Spring. We are just using JDBC things, but combined with the JDBC template from Spring. And now of course we get the key using KeyHolder, and as you saw, you have several methods under getKey to collect the right data type. So imagine that we have a table users. In our case, we have a different one, but it's quite similar to this one. And I'll show you in a moment this executing here. So we have here this ID studio. As you can see, it depends on database for Postgres, but for instance, if you're using MySQL, it will be auto increment. I think you can also use the identity for SQL Server and other databases. And in Oracle, for instance, you have sequence, but it should work out of the box for any one of these types. So usually, why do we need this KeyHolder? If you look into a 3-layer architecture, you can see that, let's say you have an API that wants to create a user. Maybe you can have some post here, or you're receiving information from another service, or even you are reading some files. You are just importing in a batch a set of rows that you want to insert to the database, or maybe just a regular form from an Angular or React application. But at the end of the day, you have this user service. You call the save user to user repository. It will insert, generate the key, and it's a good practice to get the key and store it in the object. So when you return here on the user service, you can use the ID in another operation, like for instance, create something under the user. Let's imagine contacts. For instance, you have contacts information that it's in a different table, and you want to associate with this generated ID, and then you return the created user if you want to send it, or for instance, you are doing a REST API call, maybe you want to see the ID that was generated. So this is a practical example. Let's see on this side, it's quite similar to this one, but let's see this working. So we have this user, and the user, you can see we have these attributes: ID, username, password, name, email, and department. But what's interesting here is, since this ID, it's auto number, and I can show you here on the schema, we have these users, and I'm using an auto increment on the users, like this. Okay, so it's a good practice when you have an auto number to not use the native or the primitive data type int, because you need to put null. Usually it can be, since you in the insert, you are ignoring the value, it will not be a problem, but it can create bugs in your application, because if there is an ID there and you have a bug that, for instance, is not calling correctly the repository, the service looks into the value and say, okay, there is a value here, so I can use that as a foreign key, and you'll be associating information wrongly to this user. So it's always a good practice to use a wrapper data type and put null on it. So in this way, if something is wrong, there is a bug in application, the application will fail probably with some null pointer exception, but it's a good thing. It means that you are catching the bugs quite fast. Okay, so this is our user. The other attributes are not important for this video, but they are here. Now, the schema, it is this one. This is a table that we have. And in the repository, we have here the insert into. You can see the ID, it's not here, only the other columns. Now we have the KeyHolder, as I explained, and the query that I was explaining earlier also. The KeyHolder, I'll get, and I set the ID here for the user. So when I return the user, of course, this user, you can say, why are you returning here if this user is the same? You are changing it. Yeah, it's a practice. It means that even if the reference is the same, there is a purpose on this method. I will return something different. So I receive something and I'm returning something different. It will be the same instance, that's right, but there is some readability on the method. Otherwise, it seems, you say, but I'm not returning nothing. But something changed in the method, which was the ID. So you want, let's say, to signal this change by putting a return. Some people don't like, they just use void. I like if something changed and something should be returned, even if it's the same parameter, I like to put a return here. Okay, so let's play this. The way I did it was just to create here a post request to create a user. I'll just first execute for all users. And if I push here, you can see that we have two users, 1 and 2. It's Alice and Bob. Okay, and now I will do the post here. I already have a REST control that you can see in my previous videos, or you can download this code from my GitHub. I will provide a link at the end, but you can find it also on the channel on the posts section. So here you can see that I'm putting the ID as null, and then the other values are not important for this example. So I will play this, run, and you can see that we see the ID 3 because I'm returning here on the repository is returning to service to the REST controller, and the REST controller returns the value of the ID, and we can show you now I can use this ID to link other information to this user. And that's how you get generated values on the Spring JDBC template. So returning to this, in summary, use JdbcTemplate plus GeneratedKeyHolder. That's the word here. If you want to say, okay, I can get generated values, a GeneratedKeyHolder, you have to use it. And don't forget the parameter, this one here, that you can see here. That's the, without this, it will not work. Now retrieve the ID after the insert. Works with most relational database. Usually, I never saw one that fail on this unless there is a specific tricky thing to generate the auto values. And of course, clean code, and it's quite easy to test. So create a simple, if you want to try, take my application or create a simple one at the user's endpoint like I did here, insert into DB and return user ID. It's always a good thing to practice, but again, you can practice with my code, change it, because it's on the GitHub. You can always remove it and take it or reset the code later on your machine. So a great way to understand this in real usage. So again, thanks for watching. I think I reduced a lot of time of my video. Maybe it was a success. Maybe I'm following this format. If you like this format, please put on the comments. If you don't, you say, okay, I prefer the theory and then see the walkthrough, because there is some timestamps that help me to follow and jump directly to the code when I want. Okay, that's okay. I will see the comments and I will take a decision later. I really want to provide knowledge. I don't want to bore people hearing me. So I like to, but I would like to provide good information. Sometimes there is always this trade-off between what you can share and at the same time the time that you have to do it. So again, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and share with your friends in your forums, in your channel. I will be grateful for that. And again, you can find my code for this subject, Spring Boot, here. I always create a commit for each one of the videos that I'm creating, and you can find them, or the commits, and you can see there like something part 30, 31, 32. By the way, this is the 36, I think. But if you look into the log, I also provide the title of the video, so it should be easy for you to find the right commit for the right video that you are studying. Again, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.